Hi, everybody. Here we are again with the next episode of the Holy Spirit at work and how I saw it as a Jehovah's Witness growing up in the organization. It was kind of a confusing thing for me because we always talk about that the Holy Spirit appoints people and leads the organization, and it just kind of was confusing when you would see people that I perceived as bad, like they were not nice, they weren't doing good things, being appointed. Another instance that I saw this was when I was freshly divorced. And if you want to hear about my whole marriage horror story, I will link the first episode and below. You can listen to it. It's a saga. But when I was finally divorced, I was trying to do everything right. I really wanted to make sure that I serve Jehovah, that my children grow up loving Jehovah, and that we're kind people. And so I had applied to do cart witnessing, and I had not really been allowed to do it because our congregation, they said, we want to do a whole lesson on card training, and they chose to do it Wednesday night after the meeting on a school night. Well, I had 3 little kids that usually go to bed at 7:30. Plus, when they fall asleep in the car and you're a single mom, I think people don't realize how hard this is. But I would have to carry kids into the house, which means you're carrying 1 kid in, but that means that 2 asleep kids stay in the car. It's a conundrum because they shouldn't stay alone in the car. It doesn't feel safe. It's a whole issue. So the earlier that I got home, the better. But they decided to do card training after the meeting Wednesday on a school night. And I said to the brother, the elder in charge, I'm like, I can't do it because I need to get the babies home. Can't I do it Sunday after meeting? And this brother said, no, you can't. We're going to take you off carts. It was so cruel. I'm like, man, I'm trying to do what's right, but sometimes I just have to be a mom, a good mom, a mom that puts my kids first. So he took me off cart witnessing locally, and my mom's like, good, your territory are your kids. Don't worry about it. You don't need to go run in cart service when you have children at home. And I'm like, she's kind of right? But at the same time, they had a whole part at the service meeting how they need people for the carts for port witnessing and airport witnessing and places that are kind of international. And they ask, who can help? And I thought, oh man, maybe I can do that because that's not all the time. That's sometimes a special event, and I do speak several languages, so maybe this would be perfect. So I applied, and that didn't go through our congregation like that weird elder. It went you had to apply through that specific branch area. So I applied for that. Meanwhile, I had a really good friend. She was very kind. She was always there to help. She was what I perceived as a true Christian. Her husband, on the other hand, was a total weirdo, but he was a ministerial servant. And get this story, it's weird. He worked for the school district, and he got caught going through a teacher's purse. He was her assistant in the classroom, and she caught him going through her purse. And so she went to the principal, and they sent him straight home, and they're like, we're going to have a meeting. They were going to suspend him for 3 days. My friend was kind of like a mom always with him. She wasn't even like a wife to him. She was almost like a mom. So she showed up at the meeting with him to meet with the principal, and the principal says he went through this teacher's purse, and her husband, the ministerial servant, during this meeting with school officials, gets up and starts screaming and cussing them out. F you all, F you. And my friend's like completely shocked. She's like, sit down, stop it. And he's on a rampage. Well, the school now went from wanting to give him 3-day suspensions to firing him and prohibiting him from entering any school property in the county ever again because he was deemed a threat. But he was allowed and accepted to do card witnessing at these international events locally. I got my letter. They didn't need me at the time. And she told me this story with him because she was kind of shocked about it. You know, she's like, he's a servant and he just got kicked out at the school district. Cognitive dissonance to the max for both her and me. And then I don't know. I mean, I was at their house all the time and I walked with her every morning. So I was pretty close to her, and that means I'm in proximity to him. He starts texting me how it's all lies and he didn't do it and he didn't go through her purse. And at this other school he worked at, that teacher, she accused him of the same thing as if he would go through her purse. So I'm like, this is weird. You already got accused twice for doing this. And also, why are you texting me this? It was so weird. She also mentioned it to the elders like a good J-dub, you know? They didn't say anything. They just kind of looked at her. They didn't say anything. And then you feel like, this is weird because we're supposed to like report on each other because you're feeling like if there's wrongdoing, you should save someone's life. And having fits of anger is actually, you know, a disfellowshipping ground. Plus, what example are you setting for the world? You're setting a horrible example. You just got kicked off school grounds. And yet they didn't do anything because they really do needed, like they needed servants. So he stayed a servant. And we were like, that is so weird. And yet they didn't let me because I was just like a lowly mom. Even though I spoke several languages and this guy didn't and he had an anger problem. He got to do the special card witnessing. And I thought, that is so weird. Well, as I was waking up and then in the process of breaking away and leaving, a few months later, I got a letter that they now needed me for card witnessing at these special international events. And I just had to laugh. And I was like, too little, too late, crumpled up my letter and threw it in the trash. But I thought this whole thing is so strange. Because did the Holy Spirit lead this man to be appointed? He's kind of like a psycho, right? So hold on for part 3. There's another story that I will tell tomorrow.